I'm Scott Allen Miller. It's the 26th of December, 2023. This is my vlog of daily life living in Leon, Nicaragua. Today is the day after Christmas, obviously, because yesterday was the 25th, and it was a very light work day. So I got a bit of time to hang out with the family. We're going to talk about that, some gaming that we did, and more when we get back after the bump. Because we were so busy yesterday on Christmas, and the girls originally, my kids, had not anticipated that they were going to be getting any gifts for Christmas. Somehow we had actually convinced them they were getting, like, nothing. They knew they were getting a trip to Disney World, but they didn't know they were actually getting something to open. And to their credit, several of the things that they did get to open were like pieces of paper saying what they got, because some of it was digital downloads like Baldur's Gate 3, and other things are things that are coming in a delivery from the United States in a few weeks, like a new Meta Quest 3. So the number 3 is big apparently this Christmas. I really want to get a DJI Pocket 3. The number 3 is certainly playing a role in 2023. Okay, so they knew that, but they had originally planned that they were going to have quite a bit of time this morning, and that we were going to hang out and play a game they got last Christmas, which is the Goonies board game, which is kind of like a very light pre-built version of Dungeons and Dragons, but much simpler, with a whole bunch of pre-done things like a game board and characters and stuff all ready for you. So it's a very good way to just jump in and play really quickly. And so they had watched the Goonies and are ready for it, and today we played it as our first thing in the morning. We got up and we're like, we are going to do this, because we had lost all of our time yesterday. The opening presents took hours. The girls weren't feeling great in the morning, so they slept in much later, which was important because we think we all have COVID, if not something respiratory that's similar, and we really need rest to make sure we're getting healthy. And Dominica had so much cooking and stuff to do yesterday, and then we had people come over, which was a lot of fun. We had a great time, but we needed this time to do the things we wanted to do yesterday. So this morning we got up and went straight to playing Goonies the board game, and spent the entire morning playing this. It was a lot of fun. Now, it's very simple compared to Dungeons and Dragons, and it follows the story of the movie really closely, and you simply go through the caves and fight off a bunch of enemies that didn't exist in the original movie. But besides taking a few liberties, it's really interesting and fun, and the girls really enjoy, of course, just having family time, getting to play together. But the game mechanics are like a really light version of Dungeons and Dragons, and they know the story because they just watched the movie. So it's pretty cool. We really enjoyed playing it, and it has like 8 different sessions. I think I have that right. And you play them like as a chapter, and each one has like a challenge. They have to get through a certain number of monsters, and one person plays the game master and it's actually out to kill you, and the others are trying to survive against the game master. So it's a little bit different than D&D. There's a lot less role playing, a lot more strategy, and more one group against the other. But in general, it was a lot of fun, and a really cool way to start the day. So we had a lot of fun with that. We only got through the first chapter successfully. We played the second chapter and died, so we need to replay that one in the coming days, but we're going to work our way through it. It was really cool. We got it set up in the game room on a big table, and this really shows how much the girls love to jump into things like Dungeons and Dragons. But actual D&D has so many game mechanics that it's overwhelming. Even for me, being older and having played it since I was about 14, D&D is often just a lot of things to remember, a lot of stats, a lot of numbers, and that takes away, for me and a lot of people, from the enjoyability of the actual gameplay. And this game has basically nothing to remember. Everything's on a card, nothing changes. Now, of course, you don't advance, so it is way simpler. There's a lot of things it doesn't address, but something in between we think might be really good. So I'm going to be looking for, and if any of you have suggestions on games like D&D, something that's very expansive and allows for a big game world with big campaigns, but allows you to focus a lot more on the gameplay and a lot less on numbers and stats and rolls and which dice to use and a lot of different, like, difficult things, that would be fantastic. The other day, I talked about the gingerbread houses that we made here for New Year's, for Christmas, and I totally forgot that I had footage of it and was supposed to edit that in and left it out, but I wanted to show that to you today. So I'm just going to bring a little bit of that while we're talking here on the 26th. So more or less today is just a chance to have everyone catch up. We are relaxing. We played our game this morning. It's been overall a pretty relaxing, just chill day because we are officially at work, but things are very slow. So I did a little bit of work today, and a lot of the day was spent getting camera orders and different things done because we have Alan is just about to come back to Nicaragua with some things that we're getting in the States, and we have a very large shipment that Paul is bringing back in 2 weeks. And we're trying to get ready for all that. There's actually quite a bit of logistics to those things, and I've mentioned this before, but this is a part of the year for us that just kind of lined up this way, that we have tons and tons of our own logistics for the year going on right now. We're kind of in the midst of the biggest logistical push that we've done for the last 2 years. Of course, having been here for a little while, these things add up over time. So it's like, oh, I haven't ordered socks in a while or whatever, and then I need to get a big order of that stuff. For me, as you guys know, I'm really into cameras. A bunch of things have come together. The big main primary camera that I've been waiting 3 years to make a decision on, finally that has been ordered. The Sony ZV-1, which you guys on the show got for me through buymeacoffee.com, that has been waiting in Houston. My sister-in-law has sent that to Miami, and we're bringing that back. So I've owned it for 5-6 months and haven't been able to touch it yet. Really looking forward to getting to play with that and see what kind of content we're able to make once we have that, and then figure out what we need for those cameras. I know I'm getting a new Rode wireless microphone for the main camera, but do I want to get the Sony hot shoe camera, a microphone for the other camera, right? We're going to figure those things out. I'm trying not to spend all the money all at once, but we need a certain number of things. I got to get batteries for both cameras. I got to get cases. I got to think through lens attachments and all those things. So I have lenses and lenses and lenses either being ordered or already shipped. It's just very complicated. And that's something that you kind of learn to live with being in Nicaragua. And I've said this before, I think I appreciate this because it really makes me super thoughtful about my spending. I wait for sales and I really make sure that I research and I'm getting exactly what I think is the right thing for me. And so that effort that I'm putting into those things has been very good. I think that's a very big positive, but the effort that has to go into this, and of course the expense of Paul having to fly up to the U.S. or waiting for someone who's going to be somewhere to get even little things like, oh, there's just this battery that I can't buy here. That could be a big problem. Or I need a UV filter for a lens, and well, they don't sell a 38 millimeter here in the country or whatever. Those kinds of things can be a little bit complicated and frustrating when you're like, all I need is a battery, all I need is a cable. Those things in the U.S., oh, you just call up Amazon and in 3 hours you've got nearly anything. And here, that is the bird in the background. He likes that I'm out here talking. Suddenly, missing cable could mean that a piece of equipment can't be used for 6 months. And then there's generally ways around that, right? You can use the Nika box or some things like that. And we do have a new service we're testing out. I know someone had asked about Nika box details. I'll get some of those for you. I really want to get Paul on the show because he handles, and Alan, they do a lot more of that stuff. They could talk to it better than me. I have used it, but I'm always using it through somebody because that tends to happen here, right? We don't order very much from the States. Alan orders quite a bit, so we use his account and it just goes to his house, and that way kind of our little community is just using one account instead of spreading it out and making it more complicated. Plus he's lived in a stable place for a long time. We keep moving around. We could use the location at the hotel or something, but it's just extra complicated, right? We're trying to keep it as simple, and we really only do order like twice a year, so we really do keep it to a minimum. Typically for us, we have the 4 of us, my wife and I and my kids, and we go to Texas for Christmas. And this year that just didn't work out, as you know. So that was our major run for the year, and it's not happening. So that's a lot of extra complication that we're dealing with during all of this. And because we are not doing that run at Christmas, or did not, yesterday, my wife and I had to go to immigration and take care of our renewals there. And you know, it's funny, the renewal process is actually super easy. I guess this is yesterday. Actually, on Christmas Day, we went and did immigration. And the thing that's funny about that is that there's no lines. They're open on Christmas. And because we did things on Christmas Eve, like it took like 30 minutes, and we ran up and did that. And it was just funny, right? Doing it that way. But it made life so easy by doing it on Christmas. We didn't have to wait for anything. We knew it was going to be like, there was like 3 people there. And then we were able to pick up our passports early because everything processes really early. Not the same day, but we already have them back. Just everything was very easy. So, but we had to do that because we didn't go home, so we didn't do the out of the country thing that normally would reset our visa. So we're just doing normal extensions, and then they will reset when we head to go to Florida in March. So just a reminder for those who don't know, because someone on my channel just said, oh, I've got to leave the country. I've been here for pushing 90 days. Like, he's been here for 60, but, you know, you can see the 90 coming. And I said, don't forget you get 180, not 90. And he had forgotten, right? So it's an important thing to remember that you can stay for 180 under normal circumstances. You just have to do the right paperwork. It's not hard. It's not, but if you've never done it, it can be like, I don't know how to do that, and going to the border or something, you know. But trust me, it's worth learning. It's very simple and straightforward and easy and cheap. And you'll really appreciate when you've saved an entire day of not going to the border, that you didn't have to do those things. So our day really focused today on logistics, yesterday on Christmas and that, but that's why, because we didn't do that trip, and it's clearly been more than 6 months since a real shipment has come down, and we have a lot of things that are delicate, right, that I don't want to put into a box that no one's going to monitor. I want them in a backpack that someone's keeping an eye on, in a padded bag and everything, just to be sure, because so much important stuff is coming down. I'm very excited that all that stuff is coming, and that's going to lead us to, so that was our update for the day, keeping it very light. For those who just want to have the show, you can end here. I have a bit of a rant, and I felt it was important to keep this in because it was a huge part of my day, and it really affects a lot of the logistics and stuff that I'm dealing with down here. We had an incredibly bad experience with B&H Photo, and they this is, I've never had anything like this in my life. And as soon as I posted it, someone who is from Europe and moved here said that he had not completely dissimilar experiences with a U.S. company as soon as they learned he was in Nicaragua as well. And so, you know, it's a sad state when people know where you vacation or where you spend your time, and you or who you associate with, and use those kinds of things in the United States to not do business with you because they feel so strongly about the race of people that you're with, the nationality that they are. I don't know, and I don't know what they know. I only know you if you're interested, watch the video. It's a bit frustrating, right? I understand it's like 16 minutes long, but I wanted to recount the story because later, when I need to go back and look at and remember, why was I so angry? Why did they treat me so badly? What was the outcome? I want all that recorded, and then I want it in a place I can link people to when people are like, I don't believe that we, you know, exaggerating. Here's the details, like every single detail recorded right as it happened. So it was a big part of my day, right? So it really affected, like I felt really emotionally drained, not just actually today, but the next couple days, just from this outrageously offensive treatment that in reality, nothing bad happened to me. In fact, really good things. I learned really important things from this, and it's going to be very beneficial to me over time. It's just anytime you have one of those really nasty human interactions, it can be emotionally draining, right? And that's how this felt. Very, very hate-filled, and just, I mean, it felt evil. Right, and there are terrible people in the world, but very rarely do you interact with them at a corporate level because companies don't want to lose custom over somebody's personal preferences, but that is very much not how this went. And so it's always kind of surprising when you deal with a little tiny company. You got one person, and they're like, I don't like you, right? And it's like, oh, don't do business here. You know, you kind of expect that. You don't expect them to be like that, right, when you're being nice and a good customer and have been a good customer for 30 years. But when you have a giant company, you really, really expect, even if things weren't perfect, that they're like, well, we're the ones making money off of you, and we want to have a good reputation. We want you to come back. And they don't want their employees making personal opinions about, you know, they don't like the city you live in. They don't like the neighborhood you're in. They don't like what zip code you're registered to or whatever. Those are things that may get them in legal hot water and could cause a lot of sales damage. They don't want people finding out that their competitors give better prices or better service when they have the marketing advantage or whatever. So it's a very surprising thing for a super huge company like this to take such an incredible tact. But you can watch the rest of the video if you like. If not, remember to like and subscribe. If you'd like to support the channel, you can buy me a coffee at buymeacoffee.com/Scott Allen Miller. As always, post on social media and tell your friends and family about the show. Stay tuned if you want to learn about the B&H situation, and if not, I totally understand. There's no reason that you need to watch it unless you are considering buying a camera or video gear or something like that, and you want to know which places to shop at or what I learned from this experience. Then by all means, watch the video, or just avoid B&H. That's the takeaway at the end of the day. The real quick takeaway: B&H was terrible. I ordered directly from the Chinese vendors, and they beat B&H by many, many days on shipping and lowered the cost and good customer service instead of the worst customer service I've ever encountered in my life. That's the takeaway. I'm going to take you on to the full story. I'll see you all tomorrow. So I want to recount this story while it's fresh. I put this information up on a short, but it was just a little piece of it. And it's something that, you know, I don't know that it's caused by being here in Nicaragua, but they certainly were suggestive that it was, and it fits a pattern. Other people have reported, not too many to be sure, have reported that as soon as a business that they work with in the United States catches wind that they are spending some of their time in Nicaragua, tend to like it in Nicaragua. Remember, we don't officially live here. We just are long-term tourists. We're still resident in the United States legally at this time anyway. And so this is literally companies detecting that you are posting pro-Nicaragua content, perhaps, or have a Nicaragua-related address. One of my shipping addresses in the United States is in a Nicaraguan enclave in Miami, things like that. Or that you're just spending a lot of time as a tourist in Nicaragua, any of those things. And we don't 100% always know that that is the case, but we know in many cases it is. Of course, many of you know I have a business in the United States. We lost many, many customers the instant that they heard we would be in Nicaragua. We were very open about the fact that our executive management was moving here and spending the majority of their time here. And many companies would just drop us just like that, citing reasons that made no sense. Oh, we need someone local, and then hiring someone who's even farther away, because we still have staff in the United States who are closer and more responsive. That was not the reason, obviously. And we know that. We were expecting quite a bit of that, and it came exactly as expected, and other companies that we know here have experienced similar things. But what I'm talking about is personal things, and it can be as easy as having your bank accounts closed, or businesses that just don't want to send you things. And I'm not talking about sending to Nicaragua. I'm talking about you're an American buying things, having it shipped somewhere in the United States. If they detect that you're in Nicaragua, you may have those accounts closed. And America allows companies, and this is probably a good thing, but it certainly comes with negatives, to use things like the race or nationality or the political leanings or the religious leanings or any number of things of potential customers, or what they suspect might be the things of those customers, to not do business with them. And in some cases, you're not supposed to use racial reasons for whatever, but when it's a private business and a private decision, one, often it is still protected as part of just protected speech. It's one of the reasons why First Amendment rights are often just a cover for racial abuse or gender abuse. But also, it can be impossible to track down. Companies don't have to disclose why they stopped doing business with someone. They can say, I don't like the tone of your voice. That's a common tactic in the United States. I've had customers, when we're the vendor, who suddenly found that they were unable to explain why they wanted to do something, and their response is suddenly, I don't like the tone of your voice, right? And then they just, what can you do? Right? Oh, they don't like the tone of your voice, so you're fired. Because you can fire someone over the tone of their voice. That's a completely legitimate thing, and it needs to be. But it's also impossible to tell when there's actually a change in tone and voice, or if it's actually aggressive or whatever. So today, I was dealing with, as you know, a lot of orders trying to get my camera gear to be ready to do the show here. And I recently, like 4 days ago, placed an order just before Christmas with B&H Photo in New York, which I've been working with over 30 years. My first camera, my Nikon N5005, was bought from them in 1992, so I've been a customer for basically 32 years at this point. And I don't use them a ton. I'm not a huge customer. They certainly don't know me by name. But once in a while I order things. I've never done a return. We've never had an interaction where I had to talk to someone. I've never had anything negative happen with them. We've not spoken, but we have a completely good customer and vendor relationship as a camera dealer that I've used for most of my life. And I thought I normally got fairly good prices from them. I didn't shop around as much as I probably should have, but often they beat Amazon, so it seemed like that was reasonable. And I had ordered my camera and its main lens from them before Christmas. It should be arriving any day. That order went through no problem. I wanted to order right away the lenses to go with it, because I need a lens set for the stuff that I do. But I needed to research a few things, so I took a few hours to do that. By the time I did that, they closed for the Sabbath, which they do, which is very hard to follow because their Sabbath doesn't happen at the same time as it does other places, right? Because you have to know their time zone, and they close on a Friday afternoon because they call that Saturday. Like, it's fine, but it's very confusing. So you often will, if you work with them, Friday night is a big time to do shopping online, and they're suddenly closed, and they don't even take online orders. They won't even do that. They have to wait until Saturday. So, okay. So I looked at what I needed, put it into my basket. It matched the stuff I bought. It was clearly the completion of the order that I'd already done. I was just doing it as 2 separate orders, but it was clearly one order to get all the things I needed to use this camera. I waited until they reopened, immediately placed the order. On the next evening, they said everything was good. That was Saturday. Nothing happened on Sunday, nothing happened on Monday, and then this morning, which is Tuesday that I'm recording it, so on the 26th. So I ordered it on the Saturday evening, so Christmas Eve, 24th in the evening, all day Christmas, which they work because they're closed for Jewish holidays, not for Christmas. They worked all day on Christmas, did nothing, and then this morning so they opened on Friday, so I ordered it on the 23rd. All day 24th, nothing happened. All day 25th, nothing happened. On the 26th, which is the day that in the morning, so they had already had, and remember, I already waited a day to put in the order. So at 3.5 days of me trying to put in this order and have it sent, and I was being patient because I wanted them to do the fulfillment, they sent me a message. I was like, oh, we need to do some verification. I thought, okay, that makes sense, right? I changed credit cards for this order. It's 2 orders back to back. I could see where that could be. They just want a little bit of extra, precaution. So I called them. I spoke to their verification department. They asked me one question. Did you place this order? Yes, I did place this order. Okay, you're all set. That's good. We'll release the order now. Okay, great. And the guy was weird. He was very struggling to speak English. Which is fine. It's a verification department. Like, you get a human voice, whatever, you're good. But I remarked to my wife, I had said to Dominica right after, like, it was really weird. When I got off the phone, he was having a really hard time. He just kept going, oh, have a good day. Goodbye. Oh, yeah, have a good one. Like, over and over. Like, he was clearly, something was wrong. And it felt like someone whose first time was on the phone. He was having a hard time with the English. He was struggling with the whole interaction. But what did he have to do? They can put their junior people there as they learn to handle customer service, because all they have to do is hit the button, right? Oh, I listened, they're human, I hit the button, we're good. So everything was fine. 15 minutes later, I get an email that my order's been canceled. I just spoke to them and it was okay. They said it was good. This is crazy. So I called customer service. Well, I texted customer service. They said, oh, the verification department overrides customer service. We can't even see anything. You have to talk to verification. I said, but I just talked to verification. They said everything was good, and now my order is canceled. So that's a customer service issue. I'm like, sorry, customer service can't help you. So first of all, this is just terrible customer service. Later, they would actually say that customer service was a lie. Like, it's not actually customer service. It's a customer deflection department. They actually just admitted that. But the stuff that they admitted on this call was crazy. So I said, okay. So I'm like, this is not good. Like, I'm calling customer service to resolve a customer service issue, and you're sending me off to people who made a mistake. And whether it was false to tell me it was good, or it was false to get it wrong, one or another, I was lied to. And now you're telling me I have to talk to them. So I called that department. And of course, I got a different person because it's not a tiny place. And that person said, oh, well, we can't tell you why you've been rejected. We don't record that information. We also can't override it. And that person isn't here. I'm like, I just spoke to him. I called right back. I'm doing everything as fast as I possibly can. This whole thing's happening over a course of minutes. Customer service is aware of the issue, right? And they're like, well, we'll have to wait for him because only he knows. And he's a senior person. He would not make a mistake. And they went into this whole thing. And of course, I started getting pretty grumpy. So I admit I was pretty grumpy, but I have every right to be when customer service has blown me off and I was lied to. And now they're pretending that their systems don't track rejections. It's an irreversible. They said this. Irreversible. Nobody can override it. No one can fix it. It is a permanent ban as a customer if the verification department gets it. And even if it's a mistake, too bad. Like, it's same thing as Facebook, right? If you get banned by Facebook and you ask them, what did I do? Their policy is we don't tell you, and it's permanent. You can't request. You can request that they review, but it's the moment you do, it's an instant response. Thank you for requesting this. We don't have a request system. We don't do that, right? It's permanent. There's no question. Yes, mistakes make. They don't say that they don't. They just say, if that happens, it's too bad. It's a voluntary thing, and we eliminate your account. Same thing with B&H. It's a permanent ban, and I got them to say that on the phone. I was fired as a customer. I said it first, so I'm fired as a customer. They repeated, you are fired as a customer, right? For no reason. They didn't give me a reason. They never did. They lied that I was verified. We know that they lied that they didn't know the reason. Obviously, the system must make you put in a reason. That would be insane to think that it didn't. They have no way to override, no one to appeal to. It is a permanent. If this person clicks the wrong button or gets a bee in their bonnet, they just annihilate your account. And that is it. They say, oh, you can place another order. I'm like, yeah, but it'll just get canceled. They're like, yeah. They were very clear that I was done and I had done nothing wrong. And they even said to me, we think you know why you're no longer a customer. And I said, literally, I've been a silent customer for 30 years. Never once have we had a problem. We've never returned anything. Nothing fishy's ever happened. You've always gotten paid. Nothing bad has ever happened to you. And we've never had a conversation, so this couldn't be about me, right? There's no way this is, oh, we had a bad interaction. Someone said, don't work with him. One, you worked with me days ago, and the next thing you did was blow away my account before the item even arrived. I'm very worried now that the camera is not going to arrive and that I caught them in the midst of running a scam on their end. They're obviously not a trustworthy organization. So now I'm actually worried that my camera is not going to arrive. I did pay for it with a credit card. I can just cancel the payment if they try to steal from me. But seriously, like, that's where I'm now at, that I'm worried about that with B&H. And there's no recourse. You can't talk to anyone there. You call customer service and they just go, sorry, some other department has to do that. I talked to someone else in customer service and said, did you know that verification said customer service is just a front? And they're like, yeah, there's nothing we can do about that. We have separate departments so that there's no checks and balances. Anybody can screw over a customer and no one can override it. I was told that, right? And they said, well, we can get you in touch with a supervisor, but the only way to reach them is by email. That's as high as it goes. But it's in a department that the other department said is below them. So it's not as high as it has already gone. Every single thing I was told was a lie. They have no idea, or they are not willing to say anything. But the one thing they did that gave it away is they said, we think you know why it's been canceled. And I said to them, well, the only change that has happened after all these decades of being a good customer is that I changed my zip code to a Nicaraguan enclave in Miami, and it didn't catch it on the first order, but I suspect it caught it on the second order, and there's someone who doesn't like. And since it's a personal preference thing, B&H doesn't have to have a corporate policy. Their corporate policy is just that individuals get to have personal preferences, and they're unoverridable, they're final. Those people are mini gods within the company, and that person or group, whatever, simply doesn't like that zip code. Given that that was the only change, the only possible reason that we have for that verification to have failed. Yeah, I do think we know the reason. And they had no real response. I don't think people would do things like that here. And I said, well, you just told me that you think I know the reason. And I'm really confident that is the only viable reason. And there's no excuse for you don't know why or can't disclose. That's the only thing I can think of. Literally the only thing I can think of that changed, and the only thing I can think of as to why he was unwilling to tell me why it had been canceled. Clearly he knew that was the reason and was scrambling when he got aggressive, said I knew why, and then I did know why, and it was 100% something he could never say the words. That's how bad this was. So that was how it was left, and I did get customer service to give me this fake supervisor email so I could send them a copy of what happened, and I told everyone along the chain, please listen to the recordings. I want you to hear what was said to me. That I'm confident. I want the recordings pulled. Listen to the things he said to me and the chain of events. But that was it. So I sent off the information. This is now as official as it gets. This is the stance of B&H. They are standing as a corporate behind, yes, you have a Nicaraguan friendly zip code, a zip code where many Nicaraguans live in Miami, and that is a reason why they would cancel an order. They are unwilling to state any reason besides that, and imply that that was in fact the reason. Unreal, but these are things that you will experience really rarely, but you will experience down here. I'm not the only person who's had this kind of stuff happen. It does happen. So that sounds awful. What did that lead me to, though? So there's a happy ending to this, to some degree. So I obviously don't have to worry about that order, and it had a certain price on it, as orders do. It was already cheaper than Amazon, so I was disappointed that I couldn't go off to Amazon and just place an order and be like, haha, Amazon instead, I'll show you. But, so I'm like, okay, well, I did this with another lens company. I just went to them direct because B&H didn't have the things I wanted for another lens, so I had ordered direct from China. So this one is also coming from China, from Suri. So I went to Suri's website, and they had the exact same price that B&H did, which is unheard of. That you can just go direct and get an equal price. Normally they're a little bit more expensive because they don't have this reseller network making some money that they need to support. It's just the way these things tend to work. So I'm like, I'm getting the same price, so it's got to be some huge disadvantage to it. I placed the order. They gave me a bunch of credits that B&H does not. They gave me points towards other purchases, which is amazing. B&H doesn't do that. So I mean, I don't know how much that's worth. I'll say a couple dollars, but it was neat because it was an order of well over $1,000. And they also charged me $80 less in tax, partially because B&H charges tax regardless of the jurisdiction you're in. They tax for where they are, not for where you are, which it might be legal, it might be required, I don't know, but it's a huge factor in the price of something like this. So I got this dramatically cheaper directly from the vendor, and I got these points towards a new purchase. Like, I made out dramatically well in this interaction to the tune of nearly 10% off. This was not small taxes. This was probably 8.25%, right? Because they're in New York City. So they pay this really high sales tax rate. And I had to pay all the shipping costs and stuff with B&H. And with the direct vendor, everything was included. It was just, they said the price, and I got the price. And they shipped it the same day. It wasn't wait 3.5 days and it get canceled. They shipped it within the hour. So much better customer service, so much better price, extra perks, and all B&H was doing was calling them to place the order anyway. They just didn't want to call them because they actually said on this particular thing, the Suri specific thing that I was getting, a lot of stuff's in the warehouse, but not this one, that they had to go through the third party, and it would take a little while to tell if it was going to ship or not. So I knew there could be a delay, and I took a little bit of risk with it, but I really made out here. So I've got the thing shipping, I saved a ton of money, and completely unrelated to any of this, at the time, because I felt I had to order right away. I ordered from B&H using one of our old credit cards that we really don't get a very good deal on. But in the interim, while I was having this customer service argument with B&H, Paul showed up with our new credit cards from the United States on which we need to make some big purchases. One, because we get way better cash back and benefits off of them. And two, because we got to hit some thresholds before we go on a trip in March. And we're not too worried about that because we have all these trip costs to pay for, like flights and stuff. So it's going to add up really quick anyway. But this was a over $1,000 line item that was going on to a low benefits card that we didn't need to put money onto, as opposed to a high benefits card that we did need to put money onto. And I'd been really bummed that I had to do that, and this completely solved that as well. And the benefits are so big that it could be in the vicinity of like another $50 that I saved. So I may have saved as much as like $130 in total, and protected a little bit against the thresholds we got to hit. So this was a huge win for me personally in this one transaction. It's also a huge win because I now know that I can just window shop on B&H and then go directly to the vendors and get better prices and better customer service. Like, I hadn't thought about just how much improvement I could get by shopping that way. I would never have crossed my mind that that would be an improvement, going directly to China or Japan and ordering from there, but that's how I'm going to do it now. And I'll spend less and get better treatment. So I wasn't super happy having to order out of New York City. It seemed like a really dumb thing to do, but they're the vendor I'd always worked with, so it just seemed like a little bit of loyalty would make sense. But clearly, they did not agree with me in any way whatsoever. But thank you to B&H for showing me the error of my ways so dramatically and ensuring that I wouldn't make that mistake again. In reality, while you clearly hate your own company, you really liked me. And one could argue that, and I put this into a review of customer service. What was the great thing about your interaction today? You forced me into vendors who treat me better and charge me less. My life has improved because you were being bad people. Thank you. So that was the adventure of my morning. It's very frustrating, but getting that off my chest and sharing that with you, hopefully is cathartic for me. I'm happy that I saved a ton of money, very happy that I did business with better companies, and hopefully I can guide you guys to spending less and getting more as well as a side benefit. So everyone who should can win. I want to do a quick follow-up. I made that original video on the day that it happened with B&H, and it's now 6 days later. We're about to post, so we've had basically a week, because tomorrow is a holiday in the time that I'm recording this. So we have a good idea of what's happened in a week since that video was posted. And I just don't want this to be like, oh, I'm sure they took care of it afterwards. So in the following days, so first of all, when that happened, we escalated to what they said was the absolute top of B&H. We went all the way as senior as you can possibly go, contacted them. They said, guaranteed there will be management eyes on this situation and they will get back to you. I submitted the ticket through that system. I got the automated response saying they got it. So I know that management has this. This is the highest people that they claim they have in B&H. And in the week since, they've not even bothered to respond. at all. And I filled out all the subsequent automated surveys that I've received from them as well. So their position on this is to completely accept the reading that this is the racial makeup of where they were shipping. They are going to accept that as the reason that they canceled, and they have absolutely zero. So neither management ever responded, nor did the team that said they would get an answer right away and claimed to be trying to get it in 10 or 15 minutes in a week also didn't follow up. So no reason has officially ever been given, only we think you know what it is. And I said, we both know the only change is where I was, what my zip code was. And they accepted. They allowed it to end with that being the only viable reason. And it does make sense given a bunch of political stuff that's going on right now and how it's a very religious, politically aligned business. That they used that type of material is actually not surprising. It's incredibly sad, but that they doubled down on it doesn't actually surprise me that much. But in good news, the company that I used to buy the lenses from instead did in fact ship them the same day. Instead of waiting 3 days to tell me whether or not things would be okay, lying and then canceling the order, they actually shipped them out the same day. They came directly from China and are already here in the States, and I'll be getting them any day at a lower price. So I won out on this in every possible way. It's been a really great experience with the Chinese lens maker. For those of you who stuck around through the entire rant and information about B&H, I appreciate you taking the time to sit through that with me, right? I know that that's kind of a frustrating experience, and it's always, you know, no one wants to hear someone rant about those things, but I felt this was stuff that I needed to be able to remember exactly what happened and why I would never attempt shopping there again. Not that they want me to, but over time, you know, you can just wait and eventually they'll forget who you are. You just make a new account and whatever. Of course, there's ways to work around these things, ship to a different address, change the names. They'll never know, but I don't want to give them my custom. I don't want to go through that. I don't want to deal with any of that. And I learned that there are better places to go, and I just was being lazy, which is understandable. But, you know, Amazon may not have the best prices, but at least I know I'm going to get good customer service. But dealing directly with TT Artisan, not in this particular case, I dealt with them in person like 2 weeks ago. They were fantastic. I didn't have to call them or anything. Nothing went wrong. So I don't have this deep understanding of what they could be like. But the experience with ordering direct from TT Artisan was fantastic. I was able to get better prices and stuff that even B&H and Amazon, neither one carried what I needed. And TT Artisan shipped it right out, and I got better gear at better prices than I would have somewhere else. That was amazing. And I also learned I got $5 off because of something else that happened. So I got a really just generally good experience with TT Artisan. I've been a 7 Artisans customer for a while. Love them. They're fantastic. I am now working with Suri, SIR UI, who is a very big up and coming. They've been around, but they now have some new Nighthawk and Sniper version lenses that are really popular and getting a lot of attention. And we're ordering directly from them. Also in China, like TT Artisan, was fantastic. They shipped immediately, like within hours. My shipment was on its way, and they gave me the FedEx tracking number in both cases. Right, I looked and I'm like, in totally different parts of China, but I looked at them and I'm like, oh boy, they're coming from China. I have a very tight window. What is this going to be like? And both of them, they shipped so fast. They got out of China so fast. They were into Memphis, into the sorting facility for FedEx. And I've already received the TT Artisan many days ago. The Suri is already in Memphis and very, very close to being delivered. We already have the delivery date. We know everything's good. Like, this has been fantastic. I saved not a ton of money, but I saved a little bit of money. But in general, had I ordered everything, I could have saved maybe $500 in the differences. As it is, I only saved a little bit less than probably 180 to 190 in total. But that's a real savings, especially for those of us who live in Nicaragua. Those are giant numbers. But even for Americans on American general pay scales and cost for things, saving hundreds of dollars on a relatively small order is a real savings. And if you're talking about a really big deal with like a camera, several lenses, maybe a few bags, and you could save $500, maybe $600 just by going to those vendors directly. I had no idea that those kinds of savings were realistic doing it that way. This was a really big deal. So I've learned a lot. That's super educational for me, just in how to do things better as a person who buys a lot of camera gear. And this would apply to a lot of other things too. But that was eye-opening. And I never imagined, I don't know why I thought this, but I never imagined going to the camera companies, the lens companies, directly in these cases and being able to order straight from them. I was thinking that they only sold through Amazons and camera stores and things like that, that they actually provided not just online stores, but excellent ones that were really good. And universally, it turns out that everyone I've looked at had this. I don't know why I didn't think of ordering from them directly, or it didn't seem like a good idea, because I knew they weren't shipping from the US. But even with B&H and often with Amazon, they're not shipping from the US either. And B&H was open about this, right? They were going to call Suri, ask them, wait 3 days, and then tell me if they were going to ship it or not, which they did, and then they didn't ship it anyway. But it was a 3-day delay, and all they're doing is going to the website and clicking the same button as me, apparently. I went, clicked the button, and it shipped, right? I knew it was handed over to FedEx in hours. I knew everything was good, that it was in hand. So I actually had it in the United States in the FedEx sorting facility faster than B&H could give an answer as to whether or not it would ship. That's an insane difference in time. So that learning that I can do that and go direct, get better prices, get better service, and coming directly from the factory obviously has other benefits. So I'm really hopeful that that I've learned a lesson in better ways to do things, and I'll just bypass this kind of problem in the future. So thanks to all of you who stayed and watched the show. If you'd like to support the channel, you know the drill. And as always, share all the things, tell people all the stuff, and I will see all of you tomorrow.